Hey YouTube, it's Tech Savvy Solution, and I'm here with a pretty important package I just got in the mail recently. It's Google's latest flagship smartphone, the LG Google Nexus 5. So this is the latest iteration of Google's Nexus line after the Nexus 4. And in this unboxing, I'm going to give you guys a physical tour of the device, some tech specs that you'd probably want to know, a brief comparison between the Nexus 5 and the Nexus 4, and then we're going to go ahead and explore Android's latest operating system, Android 4.4 KitKat, and see what that's all about. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with this unboxing. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this out of the package. It's a really brightly colored box. This is the Nexus 4 box in comparison. So only slightly bigger, but definitely has more pizzazz to it. Let's take a look around. Pretty standard, nothing much going on. Might be faster just to cut this open. Wow, that's really nice. I mean, I kind of almost wish that the Nexus 5 logo just wasn't in the middle like that, because what I did with the Nexus 4 was it had, I'm going to show you just really quickly. This is my Nexus 4, and it just has, you know, these really discreet printings on the screen protector that comes with it, so I just kept it on so I wouldn't have to buy another screen protector, but I guess I'll have to buy one for the Nexus 5. But it's a really sweet looking device. Let's just put this to the side for a moment and take a look at what's inside. So inside, let's go ahead and take this flap out. I'm liking Google's blue color scheme. It's my favorite color. Okay, so we have the micro SIM tool. It's to remove the micro SIM slot from the Nexus 5. It's very handy, don't lose it. And of course we have the quick menu. And they're in cards, like it's reminiscent of Google Now, that interface, the card interface. And Google's really taking it to the next step and making this as part of their manual type, or like manual type formats. It's pretty cool. And then of course we have our warranties and stuff, you're not really interested in that. And then on the inside we have made by LG charger and your USB port, or not port, but USB cable. No earphones or anything, this is all it comes with. And we'll go ahead and put this back, put this to the side, as the phone is the main feature. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the physical features of the phone. On first impressions, this is like, it speaks sophistication. It's very simplistic. You have Nexus 5 in the middle and then Nexus in the back, all lowercase. But it's a really simple design that feels good in the hand, first of all. And, you know, I have small hands, so this is a pretty big deal. And being a 5-inch phone, that's also very important. And second of all, it's not exceedingly heavy or anything. I mean, we have Corning Gorilla Glass 3 on the front and a plastic matte backing, but overall it's just, I mean, it's fairly light, something reminiscent of the Nexus 4, if not lighter than that. And it's simple and very elegant, and there's a lot to speak for that. So one of the greatest things that I like about this phone is on the bottom we have our speaker grill, and oh my gosh, thankfully it's not put in the back, because a lot of people, when they listen to their music, they set their phone like this and they want to, you know, jam and stuff, but you know, it covers the speaker, and it's just like, why would you do that? So finally they take cues from the iPhone design of putting the speaker grill on the bottom, and that way it's not covering it when you put the phone down. So props to LG for making that switch. Also on the bottom, we have our micro USB port. And then on the side, very minimalistic. Notice that the micro SIM card slot is, you know, flush with the rest of the device. It's not protruding out naturally. And then we have the sleep and wake / power button in the same shape and the same design as that card slot. So a lot of thought being put into that and making this as slim and streamlined as possible. And then for here, we just have our microphone and then our 3.5mm headphone jack, standard. And then on the other side, again, that same design from here to here. And it's about the same placement if you look. It's offset by maybe half a centimeter or so, but it's about the same length. And then the same design again. There's no arrows or anything. It's just very minimalistic. Seems to be the new trend for 2013. So there you have it with the sides and the back. We have our camera, flash, and the Nexus logo, LG logo, and then this thing that will peel off eventually. And then we have the front-facing camera here. Cool. Let's go ahead and turn this on. Alright, so while this is powering on, I'm going to go ahead and peel off this screen protector. So as much as I want to keep it on. Cool. I'm pretty sure that with Gorilla Glass 3, we won't be seeing many scratches. But just as this is powering on, I'd like to give you some specs on this. As for the camera, we have a 1.3 megapixel front-facing camera over here. This is our speaker for when we're making calls. Here are sensors for, you know, light adjustment in the display. And then in the back, we have an 8 megapixel camera that can shoot HD 1020 HD video. And here's our flash. So let's just wait for this to get started up. As far as I can tell, with the display, first of all, it's full HD IPS display, 1080p. The Nexus 4 was 720p, and it's not like you're going to be like, oh my god, it's so much better, or oh, the Nexus 4's display is so inferior to this. No, but it does look very, very sharp. The colors are rich and vibrant. I'm viewing this from an angle when I'm filming the video. Let me give you a better view of this phone actually. And I can see the colors as if it's like, you know, print on paper. It's so beautiful. And yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and set up this phone and I'll be right back. Alright, so we're in the last stages of setting this phone up. It's just giving us some information on Google Now. Yeah, let's go ahead and get Google Now. And here's the new start menu, this new welcome page. Hangouts, nice, okay. So we're going to try and integrate Hangouts with your regular text messages. Just got an email. Awesome. So on first glance, you'll notice that the icons are a lot bigger than the previous versions of Android. Just FYI, this is Android KitKat, so this is the first phone to actually run Android's latest operating system. It's Android 4.4. And here, if you swipe to the left, or swipe to the right to get to the left of the screen, we get Google Now, which is increasingly becoming more integrated with Google's operating system. It's supposed to be like the go-to interface for your phone. So like how iPhone has Siri, Google phones have Google Now. Hey Google, how are you? And it searches for a translation. Whereas, you know, Siri would probably make up a witty answer to that question. But let's go ahead and ask for something else. What's the weather like in New York City?
It's 25 degrees and clear in New York.
It's pretty awesome. What's 37 degrees in Celsius?
37 degrees Celsius.
Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at the more of the interface of Google now. We have, again, this whole card format, so everything is like looking like they're pretty much like post-it notes on a page. So we can update this on Play Store, location-based cards. Google Now is always working for you. So let's say we have our location settings turned on for Google Now, and you have a location in your Google Maps titled Work, and it'll actually tell you like, oh, like 21 minutes to work, or like the destination that you put in Google Maps. So because it's location based, it's able to give you notifications via Google Now based on where you are. And let's say you travel to a different city, these cards will update to show the weather to that in that city and the time in that city, and it's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and click on this. We can customize Google Now. I say yes, I usually get around walking because I'm on campus a lot. And then let's say I don't really do sports or stocks, places. You can set home and work. And then go ahead and type in the address for that. Everything else. I mean, I walk. Interested in weather updates? Sure. Nope. Continue to get updates about travel time? Sure. So like, let's say you're going to work and you're stuck in traffic, and Google Now will go ahead and tell you, hey, it'll probably be a 10-minute delay, or it'll probably take this long to finally get to your destination. So it's pretty useful. Let's go down here. We have reminders, and that's, I mean, I love Google Keep, which is Google's like task managing app, and you can like set reminders. That is my life. It's pretty awesome. And then let's go head to settings, and then you have more settings for these different options in Google Now. So it's pretty cool, and this is all in your home screen. So I'm going to tap to go home. You just get to Google Now like this. It's pretty awesome. And then you'll have that persistent Google bar on top. So man, I mean, I'm really digging these icons. They're pretty large and easy to see now. It's more of a phone than anything, obviously. So aside from that, everything seems pretty normal. I mean, gone is the whole widget tabs. Where is it gone? So you just have your apps here. And to add a widget, just go ahead and tap and hold on the screen, and then you have your widgets in this folder. So I kind of like this a lot better because I find myself in the Google interface accidentally swiping to the widget page, whereas here everything's nice and easy to look at and easy to access. Also, by long holding or long pressing on the home screen, you have access to changing wallpapers. Take a look at that. We have a new set of wallpapers. Oh yeah, this one's looking pretty funky. So I'm going to go ahead and change it to this one. Set wallpaper. It's really nice. Some more options that we have. Access to settings. Access to widgets. And then here are your home screens displayed like that. So it's really easy to look at, and I think everything is more intuitive. I think Google and Apple are... No. Sorry. Every time I say Google. Yeah. So I think the Google and Apple are making their user interface a lot more user-friendly, which is good for you guys. So you know how to work your phones and everything. Alright, let's take a look at the status bar. It's pretty much the same as what has been going on before. I didn't put in my SIM card, so of course it says that, but the icons are slightly different, but other than that, it seems about the same. Just can minimize this if we wanted to. Oops, missed that. But notifications on your screen and on your status bar can be resized to different sizes. If you want it to take up less space, you just go with 2 fingers and swipe up. To see more of the notification, you take 2 fingers to slide down. Also with the status bar, you can take 2 fingers to slide down, and you get this interface for quick toggles in the settings, and that's also pretty useful too. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to the comparison portion of this unboxing. I'm going to go ahead and take out my Nexus 4 and show you guys some differences between the Nexus 5 and the Nexus 4. Okay, so on my left I have the Nexus 5 and on my right I have the Nexus 4. Let's go ahead and just look at the physical differences first. So you can notice there's definitely a size difference in how tall these phones are. Nexus 5 is taller because it has to accommodate that 4.95-inch screen, whereas on the Nexus 4 we only have a 4.7-inch screen. However, if we look at just the thickness of each of these phones, you'll find that if you stack them together like this, the Nexus 5 is actually thinner than Nexus 4. So that's pretty cool. So on the side, I mean, both are simple looking phones. They have really simplistic designs to them. Nexus 4 seems a little flashier with this little pixel type sparkly back. I don't know, some people have liked it, some people have not. I thought it was pretty snazzy. Anyways, so if we just look at the bottom first, we have the speaker grills are on the bottom for the Nexus 5, but not for the Nexus 4. We have these, odd placed screws instead to give it that industrial look. And then, of course, we don't have the microphone on the Nexus 5 either. But the micro USB port is on the bottom for both phones, so that's a similarity. On the side here, we have this. First of all, in the Nexus 5, we have this really streamlined finish, and it's very uniform throughout. Whereas in the Nexus 4, we had this kind of angular look. It's kind of reminiscent of the Nintendo 3DS, the original 3DS, and it's like angular type body, but that's gone with the Nexus 5. And then also, the micro SIM slot has been moved to the side for the Nexus 5, whereas on the Nexus 4, it exists on the other side. However, we noticed that the sleep and wake buttons are about the same size on both phones, with the same type of response, although I noticed that the Nexus 5 is clickier, and it's just overall more responsive than that of the Nexus 4. On the top here, we have our microphone, and then we have our 3.5mm headphone jack. And then on this other side, we have the volume rocker. And I neglected to say, how snappy it feels on the Nexus 5 compared to Nexus 4. It's not that the Nexus 4 is bad, it's just that, you can hear the click on the Nexus 5. It responds very well. They're both about the same size. And then, of course, we noticed that this was moved to the other side on the Nexus 5. On the back, please ignore the crack on my phone, but that's kind of a disadvantage of having this glass backing on the Nexus 4. But that's gone on the Nexus 5. We have this, plastic. It's not, I wouldn't say it's cheap or anything, because that's the connotation that plastic always carries with its name. But it is a matte finish. It's a rubberized matte finish, and it feels really good in the hand. Not that this didn't feel good in the hand, but it's a different type of feeling, and it's good. So on the back, instead of having, this really flush with the surface camera, we have a really here is the camera. It's kind of a defining feature of the Nexus 5. It's this big camera lens, and then the flash, and then we have that on the Nexus 4, although the flash is more square to look as the same square style of the camera on the Nexus 4. And then both phones are made by LG, and you see the logo on the bottom. And then we noticed again that the speaker grill is on the back for the Nexus 4, but we have two speaker grills on the bottom for the Nexus 5, which is what I like better. And then we have the same font for the Nexus phones, both of these logos. And I mean, my gripes about the back of the phone is, it looked really awesome. I was like, oh, I like this sparkly phone. But it did crack, and I was kind of surprised because it's supposed to be Gorilla Glass on the front and the back of this phone. But it seems like it didn't hold up with my violent handling of phones. Just kidding. I lent it to a friend, and unfortunately they abused the phone. But anyways, that's that. My personal life. Okay, but let's go ahead and take a look at the software. Both of these phones. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at the user interface on both of these phones. We're going to start with the lock screen. So let's take a look at the lock screen from Nexus 4 and Nexus 5. Notice the UI difference on the bottom here. On the Nexus 4 we have this black bar and then a shortcut for Google Now. And instead on the Nexus 5 the shortcut for Google Now is this arrow, and then the camera icon is there, so you know, hey, you can actually swipe to the right and get to the camera, which is pretty cool for both of these. I'm not really interested in the camera. Let's go back to, I mean, the camera is all fine and dandy too, but let's take a look at what the lock screen offers. So if we swipe to the left part of the lock screen, we can actually add widgets, which is something that has happened through Android 4.3 as well. And then you can just choose from a whole variety of widgets, the ones that you've had installed in your system. And let's go back. And unlock to the home screen like so. And here we have it. Let me go ahead and show you just, I don't know if you would be able to see, but the difference in the screens on both of these phones. So first, let's take a look at some of the viewing angles. It's pretty consistent throughout. I do have a screen protector on here on the Nexus 4 that came with it. It's just like, you know, the factory screen protector that comes with every phone. Let's go ahead and take a look at how the viewing angles go. It's pretty good for both of these phones. View it straight on. And here's just the Nexus 5. It's really quite nice. I mean, it looks washed out on camera, but in person it isn't. I think it's just the lighting. So it's really nice. Then back to the Nexus 4. So there you have it with viewing angles. And if we just look at some of the differences here in the icons. First of all, our app drawer is different on the Nexus 5. And then you notice on the Nexus 4 we have this bar across that divides the dock icons from the rest of the icons. But here, that doesn't exist. We just have our little dots that tell us where we are on the screen. Whereas in Google we have this scrolling bar. Okay, so we look at the app drawer here and here, and notice that on the Nexus 5 we have a translucent background, but on the Nexus 4, notice that it's all black. So it's just like really minor UI changes. It's nothing groundbreaking by any means, but I mean, on both phones I really had a great user experience. Like with the Nexus 4, I haven't played so much around with the Nexus 5, but from what I can tell, they're both really smooth phones. And I just want to like say this and put this in context. We have Samsung turning out really incredible phones like the Galaxy S4. They're always on top with the benchmarks. And then you see, you know, Google's flagship phone. Sorry, every time I say that, like, Nexus 5 freaks out. But every time I like see these benchmarks, I'm like, man, I mean, Nexus lineup has to step up its game. It's being creamed by Samsung. But then I use the phone on a daily basis, and it's like, wow, this is, I feel like I'm probably operating a Samsung phone or something. It's so smooth. It's very reliable. I get few, like, you know, weird restarts that have happened to a lot of my other phones that I've reviewed. And it's really reliable. The call quality is great, and it's like, you wouldn't think. So I really like caution people before they buy phones. Don't just judge it based on how they do in benchmarks. Like, don't go out of your way to pay an extra $100 or something for a phone that gets better benchmarks, because it's really the day-to-day experience that counts. And my experience with the Google phones are, thanks for not reacting. My experience with those phones are always a positive one. So with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and move on to my conclusion about my first thoughts on Nexus 5, which are pretty positive. So stay tuned. Okay, so for my final thoughts on this phone, I definitely think that Google had simplicity in mind. Not just that, but simplicity in mind when it's designing the phone from both the outside and the inside. So in terms of the outside, we have this really sleek unibody look. It's very smooth, very uniform. We have these like really small nuances in the design of the buttons and everything, and it's very easy to hold, especially for a 5-inch phone, which is a plus for people with small hands. And then in the user interface with Android 4.4 KitKat, it's designed with simplicity in mind. We have the icons bigger, so it's easier to get to tap them and select them. It's easier to see. We have Google now being more of a presence, and talk about simplicity in mind when I say, okay, Google, and I can go ahead and ask any question that I want. It's very sensitive to my actions. That being said, if you're looking for the, should I upgrade or not? Should I get this phone or should I get a different phone? I would say if you already have a Nexus 4 and you're happy with the Nexus 4 and it's serving you well, I wouldn't say that the Nexus 5 is this groundbreaking upgrade that everyone should have. It really isn't. It's a decent upgrade, but it's not anything that's going to blow your mind out of the water. It's not going to make miracles or anything. It's just a good upgrade, and that's that. So if you're on one of those 2-year agreement cycles where you can only get a good deal on phones every 2 years, I would wait until your 2 years are up, and then you can upgrade for the next generation of Nexus phones and do that instead of trying to pony up $350 for a Nexus 5, because it's really not worth that upgrade. But however, if you are coming from Apple or like iOS iPhones, or if you're coming from the Windows phones and you're looking for a good Android phone to start with, I would definitely recommend the Nexus line. First of all, it's cheap. It's $350 off contract, unlocked phone, and that's always a plus. You're not tied to any carriers or anything. And then you also have an option of 16 gigs and 32 gigs of storage, so there's that. And then again, with simplicity in mind, if you're new to the interface and you're like widgets, don't know what to do with them, Google is really good about making it easy for you to set up your phone. And as an Android user, I guess I am biased, but I love widgets to death. Is like my life. Seriously, on my Nexus 4, I have a calendar here, a calendar widget here. I have Google Keep in my to-do list here. I have my calendar on this page, and just widgets everywhere. And it's useful for me because I can see everything that I need to do on my calendar, my to-do list at a glance when I turn on my phone. And it's just something that I personally like. So that's something that is a big plus for me in the Android operating systems and Android phones as a whole, not just the Nexus 5. So all in all, I think the Nexus 5 is a solid performer. It has a great camera, both front and back-facing camera. It has a great screen. It's true HD 1080p screen with a 445 ppi resolution. To give you an idea of the comparison between that, is the Retina display, which Apple's very famous for, is only 326 ppi. Truth be told, after 326 ppi, your eye really can't tell the difference, and your life isn't going to change if you have 445 ppi versus 326. But the screen is good. The viewing angles are great, and you get great color out of it. So it's a great phone. Good battery life too. So if you're looking for a good entry phone into the whole smartphone market, I would recommend this. If you're on your Nexus 4 and you like it, I wouldn't recommend upgrading. And if you're just someone that collects smartphones, you probably already have this phone. So anyways, that's about it for the unboxing and comparison review. If you like what you see, please rate, comment, and subscribe. I do appreciate your feedback. It really helps keep me going with these reviews. And I hope to see you guys next time on the next video review or tutorial. Thank you so much.